I am not fit for any man, sir, but I can love your children. The boarding house matron stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Every girl your age has already left, Ruth. Married, chosen, found somewhere to go. She looked Ruth up and down. Tell me, aren't you fit for any man? Ruth's hand stilled on the dish she was washing. The words hit like a slap, but she'd heard them before. 2 years ago, on a train platform, she had traveled 3 days to meet a man who'd placed a marriage ad. He laughed when he saw her step down. He didn't touch her bag or ask her name. He just said, "You're not what I ordered. You're not fit for any man." She took the next train back. That sentence never left her. Now the matron was waiting for an answer. Ruth dried her hands slowly. "No, ma'am," she said quietly. "I suppose I'm not fit for any man." The matron smiled, satisfied. "Then you'd better start looking for work. This house closes in 2 weeks." Ruth stood alone in the kitchen with $17 to her name and nowhere to go. But that night she saw something tacked to the church bulletin board. It was a handwritten notice, barely legible and desperate. "Widower, 3 children, need help, send word." She unpinned it. That night she sent a telegram and bought a train ticket with her last 17. The train pulled into Redemption Creek late Friday afternoon. Ruth stepped onto the platform, small bag in hand, and stopped. 4 young women were already there, pretty, confident, and laughing together about the desperate widower. A man stood near a wagon at the far end of the platform, tall, work-worn, with his hat pulled low. 3 children stood behind him, thin, quiet, and too still. The other women approached like they were doing him a favor. The blonde spoke first. "What are the wages, Mr. Hartley?" "Room and board plus $10 a month." She laughed. "10 for 3 children? I'd need 20, and my own room with a lock, and Sundays off." Another chimed in. "I'd need a clothing stipend." "This work will ruin my dresses." A third looked at the children with barely concealed disgust. "Are they well behaved? I won't tolerate wild children." James's jaw tightened. "They're grieving. Their mother died 4 months ago." "That's very sad," the blonde said flatly. "But your offer isn't acceptable. Good day." They turned and walked away, already laughing again. James stood there, defeated. The smallest child, a little girl with dark braids, had silent tears running down her face. Ruth's heart cracked open. She stepped forward before she could stop herself. The last woman turned and saw her, her eyes widening. "What are you doing here?" Ruth ignored her and walked straight to James Hartley. "Mr. Hartley, I'm Ruth Brennan. I sent you a telegram." He looked at her, taking in her size, her plain dress, and her work-worn hands. She waited for the familiar expression, the disappointment, the rejection. It didn't come. The red-headed woman laughed. "Oh, this will be good. You think he wants you? Look at yourself." Ruth's face burned. The old shame rose up, choking her. But she forced herself to keep looking at James. She forced herself to speak the truth that had been beaten into her. "I am not fit for any man," she said, her voice shaking. "I know that. I've known that for a long time." The station went quiet. Even the red-headed woman stopped laughing. Ruth looked past James at the 3 children, at the little girl with tears on her face, the boy clutching his sister's hand, and the older girl trying so hard to be brave. "But I can love your children," Ruth said, her voice steadying. "I can care for them. I can make them feel safe. I can be what they need, even if I'm not what anyone wants." James stared at her. The moment stretched out, painful and endless. Then he asked one question. "Will you stay?" Ruth's breath caught. "Yes," she whispered. I'll stay. James nodded once. He turned to his youngest daughter and gently picked her up, placing her in Ruth's arms without a word. The little girl was light as a bird, trembling. Ruth held her carefully, one hand supporting her back and the other cradling her head. The child pressed her face into Ruth's shoulder and cried real gasping sobs that sounded like they'd been held back for months. "This is Lucy," James said quietly. "She's 3. That's Emma, she's 8, and Thomas is 5. Ruth looked at each child, memorizing their faces. Emma was watching her with guarded eyes. Thomas was still holding his sister's hand, uncertain. "Hello," Ruth said softly. "I'm Miss Ruth." The red-headed woman made a disgusted sound and stalked away. James picked up Ruth's bag and gestured toward the wagon. "It's an hour's ride to the ranch. The children haven't eaten since breakfast." Ruth followed him, Lucy still in her arms. Emma and Thomas climbed up silently. As the wagon pulled away from the station, the ranch appeared over a hill as the sun dropped low. Sturdy barn, solid house. But as they got closer, Ruth saw the truth. Laundry piled on the porch, an overgrown garden, and chickens running loose. The ranch was dying slowly. James pulled the wagon to a stop. "It's not much. I haven't had time to keep up with things." "It's not bad," Ruth said quietly. "It's grief." He looked at her, something shifting in his eyes. Inside, the house was chaos, dishes stacked everywhere and dust on every surface. But the bones were good, strong wood, big windows, and a stone fireplace. James showed her to a small room off the kitchen. It was the hired hand's room. "It has a lock on the inside." "Thank you." Emma stood in the doorway, watching. "You won't stay," Emma said flatly. "Everyone leaves." Ruth knelt down to her level. "I'm not everyone." "That's what the last one said." "How many have there been since Mama died?" 5 women in 4 months. No wonder these children looked like ghosts. Ruth met Emma's eyes. "I understand if you don't believe me, but I'm here now and I'm staying. You don't have to trust me yet. You just have to let me try." Emma stared at her for a long moment, then turned and walked away. That night, after the children were in bed, Ruth stood in the kitchen looking at the mountain of unwashed dishes. She rolled up her sleeves and got to work. An hour later, James came in from the barn. He stopped in the doorway, staring at the clean counters, the swept floor, and the dishes drying on the rack. "You didn't have to do that. I know. I hired you for the children, not—" "I need to work," Ruth said quietly. "It's the only thing that keeps me from thinking." James picked up a towel and started drying dishes beside her. They worked in silence side by side. When the kitchen was clean, James made coffee and set a cup in front of her. "Thank you," she said. "You're good at this, taking care of things." "My mother taught me before she died." They sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell outside. For the first time since his wife died, James's house didn't feel empty. For the first time since her own baby died, Ruth felt like she belonged somewhere. 2 weeks passed. Lucy stopped flinching when Ruth reached for her. Thomas started following Ruth around the kitchen, watching her work with curious eyes. But Emma kept her distance. The 8-year-old had built walls so high Ruth couldn't see over them. She refused Ruth's help with everything, dressing herself even when buttons were crooked and making her own breakfast even when the porridge burned. One morning, Ruth found Emma in the chicken coop trying to fix a broken nesting box. The girl's hands were too small for the hammer. She swung, missed the nail entirely, and hit her thumb. She gasped but didn't cry. Ruth knelt beside her. "Your mama taught you to take care of things, didn't she?" Emma's face went hard. "Don't talk about my mama." She taught you well. You're strong and capable. I have to be. Nobody else will take care of them. Emma's voice cracked. Everyone leaves. Ruth understood then. Emma wasn't pushing her away out of cruelty. She was protecting herself from another loss. You're right, Ruth said quietly. You do take care of them beautifully. But Emma, you're 8 years old. You shouldn't have to carry everything alone. I'm the oldest. It's my job. What if it wasn't? What if someone helped carry the weight with you? Emma looked at her with eyes far too old. Why would you? Because you need help, and I'm here. Emma turned back to the nesting box, her hand shaking. I don't know how to fix this. Will you teach me how Thomas likes his eggs? I keep getting them wrong. Emma blinked. You want me to teach you? You know them better than anyone. I need your help to take care of them properly. Something shifted in Emma's face. He likes them scrambled, not too wet. Show me. For the first time, Emma smiled. That afternoon, Emma came to Ruth in the kitchen. Lucy needs her hair braided for bedtime. Mama always braided it. Will you show me how your mama did it? Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. They sat together on the porch, Lucy between them. Emma's small fingers guided Ruth's larger ones through the familiar pattern. Mama used to sing while she braided, Emma whispered. She sang softly, a lullaby about stars and sleep. Her voice broke halfway through. Ruth picked up the melody, humming when she didn't know the words. When the braid was finished, Lucy hugged Ruth. Can we miss Mama and love Miss Ruth at the same time? Thomas asked from the doorway. Emma looked at Ruth. Ruth looked back, letting the child decide. Yes, Emma said finally. I think we can. That night, Emma knocked on Ruth's door. I'm tired of being strong all the time. Ruth opened her arms, and Emma collapsed into them, sobbing like the child she was. Then let me be strong for both of us, Ruth whispered. James watched these transformations from a distance. One evening, Emma brought her schoolwork to the table. I have to draw a picture of my family for class. James sat down awkwardly. I'll help. He tried to draw a house, but it looked like a collapsed barn. Everyone laughed. Your turn, Miss Ruth, Emma said. Ruth drew simply but carefully. A house with 4 figures on the porch, Emma, Thomas, Lucy, and James. She added flowers in the garden and chickens in the yard. It's perfect, Emma breathed. James looked at the drawing, then at Ruth's capable hands. You're good at this, he said quietly. Their eyes met across the table. I meant all of it. The following Tuesday, Ruth walked to the schoolhouse with James. Emma beamed when she saw them. The teacher, Miss Adelaide, praised Emma's work. She's thriving, more confident. She's blooming because of the woman who comes with her. Outside afterward, the school trustee, Mr. Blackwell, stopped James. That woman isn't the child's mother, Hartley. People are talking. The arrangement isn't proper. Ruth's face burned with shame, but James's jaw tightened. My children are fed, clothed, loved, and thriving. I don't much care what people say about it. Mr. Blackwell's eyes narrowed. You should care. The school board doesn't look kindly on improper situations around children. He walked away, leaving the threat hanging in the air. Ruth stood very still. I should go. No. James's voice was firm. You're not leaving because small-minded men make threats. You're saving their lives. He turned to face her. Emma smiled today, really smiled. Do you know how long it's been since I've seen that? They need you. We all do. The children were healing, but James was still drowning. One evening, Thomas asked, Papa, did Mama like flowers? James's face went blank. Eat your supper, son. But did she? Emma says she did. That's enough, Thomas. The boy's face fell. After the children went to bed, Ruth found James in the barn. You can't do that. Shut them out when they ask about her. I don't know what to say. Say yes, she loved flowers. Say her name, James. Say Sarah. He flinched. They need to hear you talk about her. They need to know it's safe to remember. It's not safe, his voice broke. Talking about her makes it real, makes it final. It already is final. But your children are learning that love means loss and silence. That Sunday, James took the children to Sarah's grave for the first time since the funeral. Ruth stayed back, giving them space. She watched James kneel between his children and cry. When they came back, Thomas's first words were, Mama did like flowers. Papa said so. That evening, James sat with them and sang Sarah's favorite songs. I won't let you forget, he promised. The days found their rhythm. One afternoon, as Ruth put Lucy down for her nap, the little girl asked, Will you be my mama now? Ruth's breath caught. I can't replace her, sweetheart. But can you be my mama too? Emma says people can have two mamas. Ruth's eyes burned with tears. If that's what you want. It is. I love you, Mama Ruth. The trouble came on a Tuesday morning. The sheriff and Judge Winters rode up the path. Mr. Hartley, we've received a formal complaint regarding the welfare of your children, the judge said. That an unmarried woman of questionable character is living in your home. The arrangement is improper. We're here to assess the situation. Despite James's protests, the judge interviewed the children separately. Lucy cried during her turn, her sobs shattering Ruth's heart. Finally, the judge examined the house. The children are physically cared for, but the moral situation remains unacceptable. Miss Brennan has 48 hours to leave. If she remains, the children will be removed and placed in the church orphanage. I'll marry her today, James demanded. The judge shook his head. Too late for that. The complaint is filed. The record of impropriety is established. That night, Ruth packed her bag. James found her in her room. I love you, he said desperately. You're not just necessary anymore. You're ours. Ruth cried. That's why I have to go, because I love you too much to let you lose everything. An hour before dawn, Ruth tried to slip out, but Emma was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. You promised you'd stay. Her scream woke the house. Thomas and Lucy ran down, clinging to Ruth and sobbing. James stood there, watching his children's hearts break. There has to be another way, he said. Ruth looked at the family she loved. There is. We fight. James called an emergency town meeting for Sunday. The church was packed. Judge Winters laid out the complaint of moral corruption. Then James stood. My children were dying when Ruth Brennan came into our lives. Not from hunger, but from grief. I kept them alive, but they weren't living. Then Ruth came. She taught us how to be a family again. Emma walked to the front of the church. Miss Ruth didn't try to be my mama. She just loved me. She told me I could be sad and strong, that I could miss Mama and love her too. She taught me I didn't have to choose. Other voices rose in support, the school teacher and even the matron, Mrs. Henderson. I was the one who was unfit, she admitted. Unfit to judge. Finally, Ruth stood. 2 years ago, a man told me I wasn't fit for any man. I believed him, but these children chose me anyway. They saw past what I looked like and loved who I was. You say I'm unfit, but they're the ones who made me fit. The church was silent. The judge looked at the community and finally spoke. I'm dismissing the complaint. However, the judge continued, the arrangement remains improper. You should marry properly and legally. The preacher stood. I can perform the ceremony right now. James turned to Ruth and took her hands. I want to marry you, not because I have to, but because I choose to, because you taught us all how to live again. Ruth's tears fell freely. Yes, I choose you too. The ceremony was simple, and as they kissed, the church erupted in applause. We're a family now, Emma said, a real family. We always were, Ruth whispered. We just made it official. 6 months later, Ruth stood in the garden planting spring vegetables. James came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. Happy? He asked. I never knew I could be this happy. That evening, they sat on the porch watching the sunset. Tell us the story again, Thomas said. How you came to us. Ruth smiled. I came because I had nowhere else to go. And you stayed because you loved us, Emma finished. No, Ruth corrected gently. I stayed because you loved me first. You taught me I was worthy of love, even when I didn't believe it myself. As the stars appeared, Ruth thought about the woman she used to be, the one who believed her worth was determined by her body. That woman was gone. Love wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up and choosing each other every single day. She wasn't fit for any man. She was exactly right for this man and these children, and that was everything.